This week, Governor Meade gave his State of the State speech. He deserves credit for having put an end to 7% a year spending increases. At the same time, the governor is not showing the same fortitude when it comes to future spending. On the one hand, he wants to keep spending low and to rein it in, maybe even cut spending. On the other hand, he wants to increase the inflow of money into the state's rainy day fund. This tells me that the governor may not be as committed to spending cuts as he says he is. Because what is the rainy day fund for? It is for covering a so-called revenue shortfall. When revenues go down, you take from the rainy day fund and keep spending. The problem with the rainy day fund is that it is there to cover a so-called revenue shortfall so that you can continue spending. But the problem with the revenue shortfall is that you're spending too much, not that you're taxing too little or having too little revenues. So instead of focusing on increasing the rainy day fund, the governor should be focusing more on cutting spending. The governor also asked for some examples of how we can rein in spending or even cut spending. Let me offer an example. It's called payroll parity. It means, very simply, that the state and local governments in Wyoming cannot increase the number of employees and the compensation per employee faster than the private sector. Let me give you an example of what this would mean. In 2010, private workers in Wyoming made $11.3 billion in employee compensation, a 6% drop from 2008. In 2010, local and state government workers made $3.3 billion in employee compensation, a 10% increase over 2008. The difference between payroll for government workers in 2008 versus private workers and in 2010 is big enough so that you would have to pay a 4.6% state income tax if you had to cover it through a tax. This is not a sustainable path. We cannot have a government that grows its payroll irrespective of what happens in the private sector. If we had instituted a payroll parity rule in 2008, Wyoming taxpayers would have saved over $300 million in 2012. Governor Meade, here is a proposal for you. The payroll parity rule, it's simple, straightforward, and it will make a lot of sense. I'm Sven Larsson, Senior Fellow in Economics with the Wyoming Liberty Group, and these are my thoughts on the State of the State speech.